I'm Robert Cardoza, and you're watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. And we're finally getting into my favorite section of the show, and that is the email section, where I actually get to address questions that the people that watch my show send to me, and that's an exciting concept for me. My first email comes from Joe Gasparo from San Pedro, California. Now, Joe is asking me, he says, I'm a small business owner, probably about 3 to 5 employees eventually. Well, he doesn't know. Okay, so he's smaller than that right now. And how freaked out should I be about Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, which is the same thing? I think Obama finally likes the idea that it's being called Obamacare. But Joe, you don't have to worry too much. When you have just those few employees, it's not going to affect you really at all. If you have 50 or more employees, then it's going to affect you, and it's going to have a substantial effect on you. And let's just assume that your small business grows to that point. When it does, you're going to have to provide health care for your employees. Now, here's the deal. What most businesses are going to do are they're going to just absorb that cost, or they're going to have to make cuts someplace else to offset that. Now, what we're seeing in the news today, as a matter of fact, when you looked at Costco wants to raise the minimum wage. Now, Costco wants to raise it because they're already paying more than the minimum wage. Not a lot, but they're paying more than the minimum wage. And they're providing all of their employees with health care benefits and nice things. And the concept is that they get to keep their employees. They don't have to get new people and retrain them. And the people are happier, they're more productive. And I think that's what you're going to see in small businesses as it grows. Now, as a small business, you can help subsidize that. It would be a great way for you to get good employees and say, hey, you know what? If you stay with me for 1 year, I'll pay 25% of your medical costs. 2 years, I'll pay 50%, right up to the 4th year where you pay 100%. And that's going to be offset by loyalty. It's going to be offset by production. And that employee's not going to want to leave because they're not going to want to have to pay their own health care. It'll have a minimal effect on you if you think about it. And for those employees who are transient, you'll wind up never having to pay the 100% anyway. But what you do pay is going to be totally tax deductible to you as a cost of doing business anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm more concerned about, gee, if somebody leaves, you got to retrain them and what that costs you, and that can be an awful lot of money. Now, my second email comes from Curtis Bogdanovich. Say that 10 times real fast. Now, Curtis is asked, he's from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Curtis is asking about sequestration. Now, we've dealt with that a lot here on the show, but he wants to know if there is any flexibility with that $85 billion in cuts in sequestration. Does the president have any flexibility at all? Well, it is pretty solid that 7.9% has to come from defense and 5.3% from everywhere else, with the exception of Social Security. But within that area, the president does have the ability to spread it out to the different sub-departments of each one of those areas of the budget. So, let's talk about military, for instance, for defense. They might say, hey, we're going to cut back on 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 battleships, and we're going to cut back on first-class travel. Or we're not going to provide Congress with transportation. They can do those things, and they can say, hey, it's all going to come out of military equipment, or it's going to come out of training, or it's going to come out of technology, which is, we know it's not going to happen. But a lot of these things are already built in. So when you talk about, does he have some flexibility? Yes, but not an awful lot. That's what Simpson-Bowles was all about. The big mistake that took place with sequestration is that it left real narrow areas for that to happen. Now what Congress is doing is they're going to get back on the ball, hopefully not go on vacation again, as they always do, and they're going to sit down and say, okay, we have to cut $85 billion. Let's find a more reasonable way legislatively that we can do that. Now, we have to cut the $85 billion, but let's amend sequestration to change where we're going to take those cuts from. Now, I want to remind everyone that I want you to email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. Send me your questions. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+. Go right to YouTube to watch our shows. Just when you get to YouTube, on the search area, put down Robert Cardoza Live. The shows are going to be right there for you. It's interesting. It's good stuff. If you missed anything, it's going to be so flexible. I just love the website. And I want to tell you that next week we're going to have a really great show in mind for you. Here a few weeks ago we had Water's Edge Winery in here, and we're going to be trying to bring them back in. They had some new developments and some new things going on, and we want to make it fresh, and we're going to actually bring them right into the studio. That's a good thing. You know what? When I sit here and I talk about what's in the news and new legislation, and I'm doing my interviews, and I'm doing the good news and the bad news, and I'm doing my emails, you know, that all depends on you, and I'm trying to decide what you're interested in. You know what? Much better that you decide what you're interested in and let me know. I want to do those things for you. I want to remind you that On the Street is brought to you by Biz TV, TiVo, Ustream, and of course, YouTube. You are watching On the Street, the intersection of business and politics. I'm Robert Cardoza.